same-sex marriage legal in this country across every state in this nation.
We will be continuing to stand for marriage as the union of a man and a woman.
I had no other choice. I needed to be myself.
I stand before you today as a proud, black, transgender woman.
PrEP, I think, is a game changer.
It can help us get to 0 or close to 0 new infections every year.
Representation is power, regardless of what sector of public life you're looking at.
Marriage equality really is about the federal government, but also the broader society, recognizing our existence and our relationships.
I pronounce you wife and wife.
You're able to walk through the world and participate fully in your community as equal citizens. In 2010, only 5 states had marriage equality. By 2013, that number had more than doubled at 13 states. And by 2015, 36 states had marriage equality. Patchwork relationship recognition laws really wreaked havoc on people's lives and their abilities to make decisions about their family and their job and everything else.
The sexual orientation of my parents has had 0 effect on the content of my character.
I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
For federal purposes, marriage was between a man and a woman. It meant that folks wouldn't get their Social Security benefits, wouldn't be recognized for federal income tax. The cost to our community, both financial and emotional, of the Defense of Marriage Act was profound.
DOMA is gone.
What a way to survive the loss of my beloved freedom. What a life I had, full of love and community and joy. And now it's like I try not to cry.
It took DOMA off the books, but it did not grant marriage equality nationwide.
We have read from the bench there is a right to marriage equality.
37 states had same-sex marriage, and now that will change in all 50 states.
Marriage equality is important. It humanized our community for the broader American public, but it doesn't keep you from getting fired from your job. And it doesn't keep you safe when you're waiting for the bus. We need to move forward the laws and the policies necessary to get the protections that we need.
Trans representation in art and media has begun to emerge in this last decade in terms of having out people actually making a splash, whether it's pop culture, whether it's media, whether it's politics, whether it's sports, entertainment, you name it. When you can see that and you can visualize yourself there, then you're more likely to get there. I hope what this is showing is not just that we're a flash in the pan, that we're some sort of reaction to the Trump administration. We are viable candidates.
We've had a lot of really great increases in trans visibility, but I think that with those increases and those wins, there also comes a lot of pushback against trans visibility.
I think I'm doing a lot of people a favor by coming out and just saying it.
In 2019, at least 22 trans and gender nonconforming people were violently killed in the United States. Of these, most were Black trans women. At demonstrations across the country, we have seen trans women of color advocating for trans visibility and justice.
It is so essential for our movement here to have someone who is asking and demanding justice and liberation.
If you're looking at our young community in general, more and more are identifying as LGBTQ, and we're starting to see more and more identifying as gender nonconforming and transgender in particular. Trans folks have existed since the beginning of human society, and we're going to continue to exist. You can't erase us.
Before 2010, HIV prevention was a desert. There weren't many biomedical interventions that existed other than condom usage. PrEP came on the scene in about 2012. Those disproportionately impacted by HIV tend to be Black and Latinx gay men and bisexual men, as well as transgender women. In the early 2000s, the federal government partnered with Gilead Sciences to develop this medication. However, the proceeds from the patent never returned to the American public. Gilead has a monopoly over it. Undetectable equals untransmittable, more commonly known as U equals U, is a campaign that states that a person who has attained viral suppression is unable to transmit HIV to their partner. It's a science-based theory. My thoughts as we look back at the decade of HIV prevention and treatment, I think we've come a long way. I think we have a long way to go as well. We now have to focus on how do we make these interventions accessible to people, particularly those who are at most risk for HIV acquisition.
I have a message to people across the country that they can succeed because of who they are, not despite it.
We are definitely on the right side of history. It's just sometimes it takes a while to really turn the page.
It gets better. However bad it is now, it gets better.
For we are not a nation that says, don't ask, don't tell. We are a nation that says, out of many, we are one.
I had been a member for 8 years, a scout leader for 8 years when I was forced out 3 years ago, and now because of the ruling yesterday, today I will be able to submit my application for readmission.
I want to make sure America understands that Black trans lives matter.
When you finally get to that point of acceptance, there's nothing more beautiful.
This World Cup win is so much more than what was on the field.
You are a strong, Black, lesbian woman.
Thank you.
Do you know what the greatest pain a person can feel is? It is having a truth inside of you and you not being able to share it.
This is an especially heartbreaking day for all of our friends, our fellow Americans who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. The shooter targeted a nightclub where people came together to be with friends, to dance and to sing and to live.
They say that tougher gun laws do not decrease gun violence. We call BS!
Will we be a nation where there's only one way to love, only one way to look, and only one way to live? Or will we be a nation where everyone has the freedom to live openly and equally?
My beautiful, now 22-year-old child told me last year that they were gender nonconforming. My child is free. My child is free to be who they are.
I've come this far, I'll stay fighting 10 more years if I have to.
There's such little representation for disabled bodies, people with disabilities, and Black trans women and femmes and non-binary people in general. And somehow, I'm at the intersection of all of that.
The culture has experienced like a seismic shift in terms of understanding representation and how meaningful it is.
In our lifetimes, we could see our first HIV-free generation. But it doesn't mean that we relax.
I, Kate Brown, do solemnly swear.
Oh, wow, what a night.
And to Chasten, my love, for giving me the strength to do this and the grounding to be myself as we go.
And as